Okay, butts down. 1, 2, 3. You suck. Is my butt too powerful? Good. 1, 2, 3. Go.
Alright friends, it is time to reintroduce perhaps the single most important person in the Saramics cinematic universe, and that is Luca. You may remember her from such videos as this, and this, which is still my most viewed video ever on TikTok. Speeding through like 10 years of lore, we have a 7-year age gap. I was her pottery teacher when she was 12. 5 years later, she recognized me while working as a barista because I was covered in clay, and I pretended to recognize her before onboarding her as my teaching assistant, and the rest is history. She's in my bridal party, she's a best friend, and she's a stellar unpaid laborer, so she's going to be helping me glaze today. These are some of the BMix Intuition mugs you've seen me work on over the last few weeks, and we are going to glaze them some fun, never before seen colors. Over at Shared Floor, which is the studio I've been working at since the beginning of the summer, Adam and his friend Sav have been cooking up absolutely insane glazes and combinations for both oxidation and reduction. More on that later. It's actually insane how much time and expertise he puts into formulating and testing these glazes. Like, have you ever wondered why I've never made a pink mug or a bright red mug? Well, the reason why is that at my last studio, they didn't have any glazes that color, and the reason they didn't have any glazes that color is they're incredibly expensive and difficult to formulate. So when I saw that Adam had hella purples, pinks, and reds in his oxidation glazes, I knew I had to try them out. I didn't just pick any purples, pinks, and reds though. Luca and I both carefully browsed the test tiles for glaze combinations that would break over the intuition texture. Now, when someone says a glaze breaks, not when they say a glaze is broken, that's different, but when someone says a glaze breaks, usually what they mean is that the glaze will slide off of high points and create one color, and will pool in low points, creating a different color. Here, imagine pouring honey over a wavy surface. A lot of the honey will drip away from the peaks and collect in the troughs. A glaze that breaks will be one color at the top of the peak where it's thinner, and a different color in the troughs where it's thicker. So I want a glaze that will break over the surface and emphasize the peaks and troughs I made with my metal rib. And speak of the devil, Adam showed up partway through to check on us and see what we were up to, and we got his stamp of approval, which we definitely wanted considering this was our first time glazing at his studio.
How's it going?
Oh, we're having fun.
They look good. I like your palette.
Different studios can be as dissimilar as different US states, especially in the glazes. Like, sure, Wisconsin and Arizona are both states in America, so knowledge of one can be informative of the other. But the culture is different, and the environment is different. Rolling up to Adam's studio and glazing it as though they were the glazes at our old studio would be like moving from Arizona in the summer to Wisconsin in the winter without checking the weather. For example, at my last studio, pretty much all of the glazes were formulated pretty thin. Like, its thickest glaze is probably as thick as Shared Floor's thinnest glaze. And there are probably many reasons for this difference. One I can think of is that the owner of my last studio likes to trim his work really, really thin, and thinner pots have trouble absorbing thicker glazes without oversaturating, which can lead to glazes never drying, sweating, or peeling off. Meanwhile, Adam throws and teaches a more standard wall thickness that can absorb more water and take on more glaze. So at my old studio, you had to hold your pot in the glaze for a solid second or 8, depending on what you were doing, while at Adam's studio, we had to dip much more quickly. Even with the quick dipping, I found myself having some trouble with Adam's glazes because I also tend to throw pretty thin.
Honestly, when you're belching, it's about the, for me it's more about the, it's gotta be a hard up and then like a little catch down, you know?
I mean, I used to throw absurdly thin. Like, it kind of reminds me of the 2010s when everyone had eyebrow blindness and the Anastasia dip brow pomade, except instead of cartoon Sharpie brows, I was throwing paper light shattering risks. I don't throw that thin anymore, but I was still biting my nails and praying that these glazes would dry properly on my mugs. This glaze, I'm pretty sure he calls it Frog Kiss Green, was definitely the most thick one he had, and we were using it in combination with another pretty thick glaze, so I was positive that the mug would just never dry or would end up flaking off.
Ooh. Very gooey, kind of like jello. A little jello-y.
And it did take a long time to dry. Like, by the time Luca and I had to leave, it still wasn't dry, but everything came out great, so clearly it wasn't an issue.
I don't know if you did it.
I did. Wow.
That's what I was telling you, it's the pull up.
I see, yeah, you literally just like
Suck it up.
in there.
Another cool thing about Shared Floor is that they have a gas kiln, which means we can fire in reduction.
Oh, I went way too deep.
Yeah, you really did.
It's okay.
I once had to drop chemistry, so I'm not the best person to explain this, but basically a gas kiln heats up by literally shooting gas-powered fire into a box with your pottery in it. The flames consume oxygen, which can put the atmosphere inside the kiln in varying states of reduction. In reduction, chemical reactions are happening with little to no oxygen due to the fire eating it all up. This affects the color and sometimes the texture of the glaze. My last studio only had electric kilns, which can only fire in oxidation because instead of using a flame, it passes electricity through coiled wire throughout the kiln, heating up a lot more like a toaster. There's nothing eating up the oxygen, and there's little to no atmospheric variety. A lot of potters will tell you that gas firing is more traditional, results in more organic and interesting work, and is far superior. I am one of these people. I like to think I'm not too gatekeepy about this. Somehow, I had access to 2 separate gas kilns in high school and occasionally one in college, but basically everything I've made since 2019 has been fired in oxidation. I am very happy with, proud of, and excited by the work I've been doing in oxidation. Heck, most of the mugs you watched me glaze today, the black bucket glazes, are going into the electric kiln. Electric kilns are cool. They're versatile, they're consistent, convenient, and 99.99999% of the world doesn't know what reduction is, let alone the difference between reduction and oxidation, let alone how that affects pottery. So if you're rocking an electric kiln, I am not poo-pooing you. However, being able to use Adam's reduction-oriented glazes, which are in the white bucket separate from the oxidation glazes, and fire them in the gas kiln is an absolutely massive win. One of the best things about firing your pottery in reduction is that the state of reduction and temperature and flame are all variable firing to firing and within different locations in the kiln. One side of your pot may get licked by flame and have a unique blush pattern where the flame touched it. Glazes thousands of years old like Celadon, Tenmoku, and Shino can only be fired in reduction. I don't know, to me it just feels like there's more nature and fire and tradition and spirit in the reduction process. After a few hours, Luca and I finished the first and second coats on all of my mugs, as well as a few sake carafes and vases. And do you know I would never post a glazing video without also posting the results. So let's fast forward roughly a week to when everything made it out of the kiln.
1 week later.
I've never had so much colorfulness on these mugs before.
It's insane.
Because it's so fun.
It's so unique, and it like really shows your texture.
Texture is texturing.
I mean, I really like the, what is that, the Shino one?
Shino also is stunning.
Stunning and like classic.
Look at that black
Yeah.
spooling we've
And I love like the warmth of the.
Yeah, and I love the orange
Orangey.
and the
Yeah.
drips on the inside, but a Celadon.
I mean, because you don't have access to a Celadon that you've been using on these.
I know, and like, to me, a Celadon is like my original.
I mean, a Celadon is
lives
just
in my
gorgeous and classic. You can't go wrong with that.
Exactly.
I thought I'd love the Kirby more, but I don't think I would vote for that one.
I think this is just too patchy.
If it was more, if it was like that, but the texture of this one,
Yeah, or if it was this through the whole.
yeah.
The lighting in the studio was not doing these justice, so I went outside and got proper beauty shots to show off my dog and these amazing colors. While we check these out, I want to talk about how you, yes you, may acquire one of these 11 mugs. For the first time ever, I am going to be selling these silent auction style. This Friday, September 12th at 12 p.m. Central Time, I will be opening the silent auction on my website www.saralupker.com, and I'll be leaving that auction open until Sunday, September 14th at 12 p.m. Central Time. The highest bid placed on any mug during that window will be contacted for payment and delivery. If you're not the highest bid, you won't be charged. And in the case of a tie, the first person who made the winning bid will win. And I'm doing it this way for a few reasons. One, this is a super limited edition collection with no 2 mugs being remotely the same. This way, the value of any particular color can be decided by the consumer. 2, many people end up mugless after my drops simply because they weren't checking out within 5 minutes of the drop going live. This way, y'all have all weekend to fight for the mug that you want. And 3, the home studio is costing more money than I budgeted for. I've been aware for a while that I can sell my mugs for more than the $75 I have been, so I'm using this as an opportunity for my well-financed viewers to help me fund my new pottery studio and get a limited edition intuition mug to boot. Squarespace, which is what I use to build and host my website, does not have a built-in auction function, so I'm doing a slightly bootleg manual auction where you'll be filling out a form that will go to a Google Doc that I can monitor, and I'll manually update the current highest bid every few hours. None of this is live yet, but this Friday, September 12th at noon Central Time, the page will go live with detailed instructions and will be active until September 14th at noon Central Time. You will have 2 full days to get your bid in, so I hope to see you there. And don't worry, I will be going back to regular drops once I have another collection to sell. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Boop, 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 boop.